Before I start, hit subscribe so you don't miss stories like this. Because what happened that night changed everything I thought I knew about marriage, trust, and the quiet way a lie can slip into your life without making a sound. Started at 1:14 a.m. I know the time because my phone buzzed on the nightstand, lighting up the dark room. I was half asleep, groggy, the kind of tired where you don't know if it's morning or still the middle of the night. And then I saw it. A selfie. My wife, Hannah, with her hair pulled over one shoulder, that rehearsed tired but cute look she used to send me when we were dating. Her message said, "Just got home, babe, exhausted, going to bed." At first glance, nothing seemed wrong. She looked like she was standing in our bedroom, same angle, same composition as dozens of selfies before. But then my eyes drifted past her shoulder. And that's when my brain woke up instantly. The lamp. A tall, narrow, brushed gold lamp with a white linen shade that curved slightly at the top. Not our lamp. Not even close. It was the lamp from the boutique hotel we stayed at last year for our 10th anniversary. I remember it clearly because she loved that lamp, took photos of it, even joked about wanting to buy one. And yet here it was, glowing softly behind her in a picture she claimed was taken at home. I sat up, breathing slow, my chest tight. Maybe it was an old photo? But the timestamp said otherwise. Taken 1 minute before she sent it. And then I saw the tiny text under the image. The geotag. She must have forgotten to turn off automatic location tagging. It said she was across town, near the waterfront district. Nowhere near our house. My hands went cold. I slipped out of bed quietly, every movement controlled. Not angry, not panicked, just steady. Like I had stepped into a version of myself I didn't know existed. I walked through the house, checking every room, even the garage. Nothing. She hadn't been home at all. The lie was neat and clean except for the lamp, the geotag, and the fact that our front door camera hadn't picked up any motion in the last several hours. I checked the feed. She hadn't come in. She wasn't here. And she wasn't planning to be. I should have felt my world cave in. But instead, something inside me clicked into place. Quiet, sharp, final. I grabbed my jacket, keys, and phone, and walked out into the cold night. The waterfront district was quiet at that hour. Bars closing. Streetlights reflecting on wet pavement. I didn't know what I was going to find, but I knew where the lamp came from, the Harborline Hotel. We'd stayed there so many times over the years that the lobby almost felt familiar. The night manager, a tall guy with dark circles under his eyes, looked up when I walked in. "Can I help you?" he asked, probably assuming I was drunk or lost. "Maybe," I said. "I'm looking for someone. My wife. She sent me a picture that tells me she's here." He hesitated, torn between policy and empathy, so I added soft but steady, "I'm not here to cause trouble. I just need to know if she's safe." That did it. He nodded slowly, then walked me to a monitor behind the desk. "I can show you the hallway footage for this floor," he said quietly. And then I saw her, Hannah, laughing, her head thrown back, wearing the same jacket from the selfie. And then another figure entered the frame, a man, taller than her, leaning in close. His hands slid around her waist like they'd done this more than once. And then she did it. She lifted her phone, angled it just right, stretched her arm out. She took the selfie, the same one she sent me, but I could see his reflection in the hallway mirror behind them, the silhouette she had cropped out. My throat tightened, but I didn't react. She kissed him, quick and familiar, and they disappeared into a room further down the hall. The manager winced like he was witnessing something personal. "I'm sorry," he murmured. "Yeah," I said. "Me too." But I didn't break. Not there. Not in front of him. I asked him for a room. Any room. Closest one to hers, I added. He didn't ask questions. Just handed me a keycard with a quiet kind of pity. Upstairs, I sat alone in the dim hotel bar, ordered a black coffee just to stay awake, and waited. I wasn't planning a confrontation. I wasn't planning a fight. I was planning clarity. I printed the selfie with the geotag, printed the screenshot from the hallway camera, laid them flat on the table and stared at them until the edges blurred. And then I texted her. "If you're home," I wrote, "come downstairs for a minute." My finger hovered over send for half a second. Then I tapped it. I didn't feel anger, or fear, or heartbreak. I felt something cleaner, something colder, like I was finally waking up from a long sleep I didn't know I was in. And when she walked into that bar, she'd realize I hadn't been asleep at all. I'd been paying attention. She didn't come down right away. I knew she wouldn't. Hannah had always been careful, calculated. She'd read my message, stare at it for a few minutes, tilt her head the way she did when she tried to decode someone's intentions, and convince herself she had control. She always thought she had control. That was her blind spot. That, and the belief that I wasn't paying attention. I sat at the bar, my coffee long gone cold, watching the dim lights reflect on the bottles behind the counter. The bartender had checked on me twice. Both times I told him I was fine. I must have looked strange. Just a man sitting alone in a hotel bar with 2 printed sheets of paper and a stare that didn't move. At 2:07 a.m., the elevator dinged. I didn't turn right away. I heard the click of heels first, quick and sharp against the marble floor. She was walking fast. Too fast. That was her tell. When she rushed, she was covering panic. I turned just enough to see her enter the bar. Her hands still curled around her phone. Her face pale, her movements stiff. She was wearing the same fitted coat from the hallway footage. The same smile she'd used on him minutes earlier, now gone. She scanned the room until her eyes found me. And for a moment, just one small, precise moment, her expression cracked. She froze like the air had turned solid around her, her pupils tightening when she saw the papers on the table. She took a breath, pasted on a shaky version of her usual confidence, and started walking toward me. But she wasn't alone. Behind her, moving slower, more cautiously, was the man from the footage. Broad shoulders, hair styled too neatly for the middle of the night. He looked around like he was stepping into a trap. Maybe he was. When they reached my table, Hannah spoke first, her voice trembling under the surface. "Why are you here?" she whispered, eyes darting left and right. "I told you I was home." Her lie clung to her voice like a reflex, automatic, unthinking. I kept my gaze on her, calm and level. "I know," I said. "That's why I asked you to come downstairs." She swallowed hard, glancing over her shoulder at him. He stepped up beside her like he wasn't sure whether to stand his ground or bolt. "Your husband?" he muttered under his breath. "No," she said quickly, shaking her head. "He's asleep. He thinks I'm home." And that was my cue. I stood slowly, pushing my chair back with a soft scrape. The entire bar seemed to quiet itself. Conversations paused. Glasses stopped clinking. It wasn't a dramatic noise, just a shift, like people sensed something was about to happen. I stepped toward them, the printed sheets in my hand. Hannah stiffened. The other man's jaw tightened. I didn't raise my voice, didn't gesture, didn't make a scene. I simply placed the 2 sheets of paper on the small table next to them. Her selfie with the hotel lamp, the hallway still frame with his reflection. "You forgot the lamp," I said. My voice was low, steady as stone, but it cut clean through the air. The color drained from her face instantly. She pressed her lips together, her breath catching. He looked down at the papers, then at her, then at me, realizing he'd stepped into something far heavier than a late-night fling. "Look, man," he started, rubbing the back of his neck. "I didn't know she was." I held up a hand. He stopped talking. There was no point. He wasn't the one who had made a promise to me. He wasn't the one who had built a life with me. He was a symptom, not the disease. Hannah reached for the papers like she wanted to rip them, erase them, make them not exist. I pulled them back before she touched them. "Don't," I said. She froze. For the first time in years, she listened. I watched her face carefully. The shifting panic, the scrambling excuses forming behind her eyes, the fear of being exposed not just to me, but to everyone watching. And yes, they were watching. A couple near the bar had stopped drinking. A guy in a suit had put down his phone. Even the bartender had slowed his movements. But I didn't care. This wasn't for them. I turned to leave, But Hannah grabbed my wrist. Not tightly, just enough to stop me. It wasn't anger. It was desperation. "Please," she whispered. "Can we talk about this? I can explain." "Explain what?" I asked, stepping just out of her reach. "The lamp? The lie? The man?" Her eyes filled with tears, but tears from her were like autopilot. She deployed them when she had nothing left. "It's not what it looks like," she said, her voice cracking in the exact way she knew used to break me. But it didn't break me now. "It's exactly what it looks like," I said. I looked at him next. He straightened like he expected a punch. He wasn't getting one. "You can go," I said. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a permission. It was simply the truth. His part in this was done. He left without a word, nearly tripping over a chair in his hurry to get out. Hannah watched him go, then turned back to me. "You came here just to embarrass me?" "No," I said. "You did that yourself." Her breath hitched, and for a moment the facade finally collapsed. I saw the real Hannah, the one who never thought consequences would catch up, the one who always assumed she was smarter, quicker, one step ahead. She wasn't ahead now. She was standing in the ruins she'd built. I stepped back, giving her space she no longer deserved. "You could have told me," I said quietly. "Before the lies. Before tonight. Before the lamp." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I didn't think you'd notice." That sentence did something to me. Not anger. Not sadness. Something colder. Sharper. I nodded once, slow and final. "That's the problem," I said. I didn't add anything else. There was nothing left to say. I walked out of the bar, leaving her standing there, shoulders shaking, hands gripping her coat, eyes staring at the printed proof she couldn't talk her way out of. The night air hit me like a reset button. Cold, clean, real. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I'd seen everything I needed to see. And she'd seen the one thing she never expected from me. The moment I finally walked away, I didn't drive home right away. My hands were steady enough, but my mind was still moving too fast, like the gears hadn't caught up to the road yet. I sat in my car with the engine off, watching the hotel's glass doors reflect the empty streets. The night was still, unnaturally still, like it was waiting for me to make the next move. But I didn't feel rushed. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had time. Everything wasn't spinning anymore. Everything wasn't a question. The truth, ugly as it was, had settled in, and the weight of knowing was lighter than the weight of wondering. I drove aimlessly for a while, past the closed diners, past the gas stations with flickering signs, past the quiet neighborhoods where the only movement was from sprinklers on timers. I didn't want to walk back into my house. Not yet. That house had been built on the idea of us. And now us was a memory I couldn't touch without feeling something crack inside. I pulled into a 24-hour grocery store lot and sat there, staring at the empty carts lined up under a buzzing street lamp. That lamp wasn't gold like the one in her selfie. It was harsh, cold, fluorescent, real. I needed that reality. I needed to look at something that didn't lie. After a few minutes, I took out my phone. I wasn't checking on her. I didn't care where she was now. I was checking the 2 printed pictures, photographed and saved into a folder earlier that night. Not because I needed evidence anymore, but because reminders keep you from slipping into old habits. Hannah had slipped back into my life 100 smooth times with a smile, a whisper, a soft apology. Not this time. Not after a lie that came wrapped in a bright hotel lamp. I finally went home around 4 a.m. The house was silent. Every light off. Her car wasn't in the garage. She was still at the hotel, probably trying to figure out what came next. I didn't care what came next for her. I cared what came next for me. I walked inside, hung my keys on the hook like I always did, then stopped halfway up the stairs. The bed smelled like her perfume. That soft floral scent she sprayed before going anywhere she wanted to look extra good. I used to love that smell. Now it felt staged. A cover-up. A prop. I turned around, went back downstairs and slept on the couch. The morning sunlight hit my face around 8. My phone buzzed nonstop. Calls, messages, notifications stacking like bricks. I ignored all of it. Instead, I sat up, stretched my back, and walked to the kitchen. I brewed coffee the way I liked it, not the way she insisted we make it because her favorite influencer recommended it. I looked out the window and realized something. I was alone, but I didn't feel lonely. I felt clear. My phone buzzed again. This time I looked. It was a long message from Hannah. Then another. Then another. I didn't open any of them. I just watched the preview stack. First, can we talk? Then please. Then you didn't have to humiliate me. Then you're being dramatic. Then it shifted. It always shifted with her. Predictable pattern. Panic, guilt, blame, charm. I deleted every message without reading them fully. She had talked enough. She had said plenty. I called a locksmith. He arrived within an hour. A quiet man with tired eyes who didn't ask questions. People like him see everything. Broken doors. Broken families. Broken trust. He changed the locks while I packed. Not everything, just mine. Clothes, laptop, documents, a few things with real meaning. I left her things exactly where they were. Let her walk through the house and feel the emptiness she had created. When the locksmith was done, I handed him the old keys and said thank you. He nodded like he understood more than I said. Then I locked the door behind me and left. I rented a small apartment across town. Nothing special. A plain living room, beige walls, basic furniture. But it was mine. No shared spaces. No forced routines. No silent dinners where every question felt like an interrogation. I slept soundly the first night. That surprised me. I thought the quiet would get to me, but it didn't. It felt like breathing clean air after years underground. The next morning, I ignored all calls from Hannah, but I did get one call I answered from her mother. She sounded tired, defeated, heartbroken in a way only a mother can be. She said she didn't know what her daughter had been doing. She said she was sorry. I told her she didn't owe me an apology. Her daughter made choices and I made mine. She cried softly, whispered thank you, and we hung up. That was the closest thing to closure I needed from her side of the family. Over the next week, I started building new routines. I went to the gym again, really went, not just for the obligatory hour she insisted we do as a couple. I cooked meals without worrying if she'd complain they were too heavy or not aesthetic. I opened the windows without worrying she'd say the air was too cold. I breathed. I lived. I wasn't rebuilding myself. I was uncovering the parts she'd smothered with her constant dissatisfaction. On day 5, she showed up at my apartment. She didn't know the passcode, so she sat outside the door for nearly an hour before I got home. When I saw her standing there, makeup streaked, hair messy, I didn't feel the old pull in my chest. Only distance. She held up her phone with shaking hands. "Can we talk?" she asked. "You owe me that much." I shook my head. "I don't owe you anything." She flinched like I'd slapped her. Then she tried to rush inside, saying she needed to explain. I blocked the doorway gently but firmly. "Don't," I said. "Not again." She stared at me, desperation twisting her face. "You humiliated me. You ruined everything. You lied," I answered simply. "All I did was turn on the lights." She broke then. Right there in front of me, she crumbled into tears. Not the performative ones, not the ones designed to manipulate me. Real ones. But real didn't mean I had to fix it. I told her calmly that I was filing for divorce. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. "There's nothing left here to save," I said. She whispered, "I made a mistake." "No," I said. "You made a series of choices." She begged for a second chance. She said what cheaters always say, that it didn't mean anything, that she didn't want to lose me, that she'd fix everything if I just came home. But home wasn't a place anymore. Home was peace, and she wasn't part of that peace. I stepped back inside and closed the door gently. Not slammed, not locked with dramatic flair, just closed. Soft, final. She stayed out there for a while, crying into her hands. Then she left, and her footsteps faded down the hall like an echo that no longer belonged to me. I filed the divorce papers that week. It went fast, she didn't fight it. Maybe she knew she couldn't. Maybe she knew I had reached the point she never expected. The point where I no longer cared. Months passed. Seasons changed. The lamp in the selfie became just a detail, a symbol of the moment the truth finally revealed itself. I didn't hate her. I didn't love her either. She had become a chapter. One I closed myself. I moved on. Slowly, then steadily. I met new people, reconnected with old friends, built a life that wasn't shaped around someone else's shifting moods. And one evening, standing in my apartment watching the sunset turn the walls gold, I realized something. I wasn't broken. I wasn't bitter. I was free. And if you're still listening, hit subscribe because no matter how dark your story feels right now, I promise there's a way forward. A better chapter is waiting. And sometimes all it takes to begin is noticing the wrong lamp in the right photo.